everything. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lunch for the Soul. I'm Melissa Wilson at our Fox Studios in Houston, Texas. Happy to welcome you here today. This is a time to reflect often on just how faith can play such a remarkable difference in our lives. And I have the perfect example of that today. So let's get right to it. I want to introduce you to Jerry and Holly Isbell. Welcome to Lunch for the
Thank
Soul.
you. Thank you.
You had the unthinkable happen to you, mister.
I did.
And you're alive and well, I'm really glad to say.
Back to
Okay,
normal.
so I want everyone for just a moment to picture you're not feeling too good. You try to call into work and your boss is not having it. You're coming to work. It's what happened to you. Let's go back to that fateful day when you weren't feeling so well. What was going on?
The day before, it was my first day back working, and
And let's talk about
and,
what
and
you do for a living.
I'm a nurse at Hermann Memorial City Hospital in the ER,
Okay.
and I'd worked all day and everything was great, and I was looking at the daily for and we would go by daily is
Mhm.
and make sure all the spots are filled for the next shift the next day,
Mhm.
and I looked at it. I'm going, yeah, my name's on the bottom of the paper. You don't need me. And they go, we'll figure it out. You just gonna come on in anyway. And I went, I'm tired. It's been a rough day today. I said it's my first day back. I'm gonna take it slow. And
Okay, and I'm going to stop you there. I don't want to interrupt you, but it was your first day back because you were having some medical problems. Let's talk about what those were.
I had on April 11th, I had they found renal cell carcinoma on my left kidney, and I had the surgery on April 11th. And my first day back to the hospital after the surgery and recovery was May 14th.
Mhm.
And on the 14th, I came in regular shift, working normal, no issues. Just got tired as the day progressed, and that afternoon is whenever I sat down with one of my cohorts and told him, look, you don't need me on the schedule tomorrow. I'm
Mhm.
tired. I'm just going to stay home. I said, Holly's going to take the day off, and we're just going to hang out. And he was adamant that I had to come in. And then,
Well, thank goodness
yeah,
for that because I think undoubtedly saved your life. Is that fair to say?
100%,
Okay, so let's
100%.
go to that day and what
Um,
happened. Now, did you realize he was really exhausted, Holly? He just wasn't feeling quite
No,
himself.
he was a little tired. It wasn't anything that was
Nothing alarming.
alarming,
Yeah.
and I was going to take that day off. And the odd thing for me was when I woke up that morning, um, something told me, "No, you need to go to the office today," because I go in 2 or 3 days a week,
Mhm.
and it was like, "No, you need to go in." It wasn't even a question, so I just
Mhm.
got in the shower, got ready to go, and told him I was going to go in the office. He's like, "Well, okay, I guess I might as well go to the hospital." And I think back to that day, if I had decided to stay home,
Mhm.
he might have pushed it a little bit harder and stayed home
Yeah.
and not been where he was when it happened.
So everything was lining up of how it was
Perfect
supposed
chess
to be
game.
to keep him alive.
Yes.
mhm.
All right. So you go to work.
I go to work. I'm texting with her, going, I'm just tired. They're not busy. It's empty. There's not a lot of patients here. I have an opportunity. I'm just going to come home and just take a nap with you and relax. And she goes, I'm at the office. And I went, what are you doing at the office? You're not supposed to be at work. And she says, well, I'll be home in a few hours. And I went, okay, well, I said, and then I'll wait and I'll just meet you at home. And I guess about 11:45, I decided to go ahead and eat lunch since there was not anything for me to do at that time. And I went and ate lunch, came back, and I was doing backup triage, where it's, if you can imagine, it's a portable computer on
Mm-hmm.
wheels and a stool, and I triage all the extra people, so nobody has to wait.
Right.
And I remember texting her at 11:45 that I was going to do that, and then the next thing I can remember is I was in room 8 and had Dr. Gonzalez screaming in my ear for my passcode on my phone because he was trying to get my phone open, and I didn't understand. There's none of it made sense, but I also couldn't open my eyes either. I didn't know what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even remember seeing her ever all the way through till when I woke up in the ICU.
So you found out that you had a massive heart attack, or what was going
They
on?
said that the kidney, it was an aneurysm that developed on it, and it's something that happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's not common, but it does happen. And they said that the aneurysm burst, and I bled out into my abdomen. And one of the things that Dr. Gonzalez was talking about, he said that day, he says, the saving grace was that they were talking back and forth and going, wait, he just had kidney surgery, because it didn't make sense why I was having, why I was having the heart attack, but they couldn't understand why I just kept going down. I just kept getting worse, and they couldn't stop it. The cascade, it was just cascading down. Mm-hmm. And that's when he went back and forth. He goes, well, he had kidney surgery. Let's check his abdomen. And he said, he came over and he touched my abdomen, and he says, and I cussed at him and told him, don't touch me. Leave me alone. That hurts.
But you don't remember that.
And he said at that point they did the CAT scan, and they found that my belly was full of blood.
Oh my goodness.
And that
we're talking a life-threatening situation. If you had been home,
I wouldn't be here.
it would be almost impossible, right, to get you into an ambulance and get to the hospital.
100%.
100%.
You were supposed to be at work that day.
Yeah.
With the highest skill people in the greater Houston area. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, and they worked out everything. Everything worked out perfectly. My bosses were there. It was at 12:30 in the afternoon. My director came out, and he was able to, him and the medical director, Dr. Mike Gonzalez, came out too, and him and Jay worked together and coordinated the cardiologist, the interventional radiologist, the cardiovascular surgeon, Dr. Hetz, everybody in line, the urologist, everybody. And they said everything could not have been more perfect, is what they said. And I went, but for the grace of God, you think about that and go, God had a plan for me, wanted me to go to work that day. He needed me to go to work that day. And he wasn't taking no for an answer.
No, you had to be there.
And it was crazy.
Okay, so then you are unconscious and have an out-of-body experience. Can you walk us through what you experienced?
At some point, I don't know when, I was in this room.
It's like you left your body and your mind,
100%,
at least.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I was in this room, and it was I'd never felt such peace in my life. It was an overwhelming peace, and my friends were there. My father-in-law was there.
Friends who have died in the past, so they're no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
So almost like they were angels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my father-in-law, he looked at me, and he has these faces that he makes. And only the family would know about these faces, these quirks that he did. And he got my attention. It was like, hey, what's going on? And never once did I say, this is not right. Everything felt so normal. I mean, truly normal. And I felt in total peace. And went over and talked to him, and we caught up. We talked about things. And he said, well, when you're ready, I'll go with you. I didn't understand what he meant. Mm-hmm. And then I went around the room and spent time with my other friends. And I felt like I was in this room for at least half a day.
Talking to people who had died in the past who you loved, your loved ones who had perished.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that was sort of a little waiting room for heaven?
Sure. That's the way it felt. Thinking back, and in retrospect, that's exactly what it was. It was an opportunity for me to move on to the other side. And it was my decision. It was solely my decision.
So you had to either relax and give up and say, God, I love you, I'm all yours, or I'm going to fight and I'm going back to earth with my family.
Mm-hmm. And the doorway, Dr. Feinstein, my dear friend, he was screaming at me. I mean, yelling.
Like yelling your name to try to get you come to?
And getting my attention, and interrupting constantly. He kept interrupting our
conversation. It sounds like you were a little frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second,
it's like,
stop! I'm peaceful here. Leave me alone, kind of.
Yeah, and he says, just come over to me. And I remember walking over, okay, give it in, fine. I walked over to him, and he says, look. And I remember his hands going, look. And I looked, and I saw myself on the bed. That was it. I woke up.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. How has that changed your life to have experienced something like that?
Oh, 1,000,000%.
I know you read your Bible a lot more now, right? Like
Every
it
day.
really made you feel closer to God, knowing you were right there, knowing you have the opportunity.
Yes. I mean, it was in the beginning when I first got out of the hospital, and Holly can attest to this. I was very depressed, and I had to go to therapy. And my therapist, she's part of our church, community of faith, and she told me I need to get a Bible and start reading the Bible. And she says, I think you're ready. I think that's going to help you a lot. I went, oh, okay, fine. I'll just another step in my session. I'll go ahead and do it. And I got the Bible, and I found home.
Holly, I feel like we've left you out of this conversation.
It's
We had to
okay.
get it all
It's
first person, and
okay.
now I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
want to bring you into this
Yeah.
conversation. So,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, let's go back, and then I want to bring us back up to date of where we were right then, talking about how you
Sure.
went through therapy to work through these feelings of that beautiful peace and why am I alive? I'm sure, and questioning all those questions of what am I supposed to do with this
Mhm.
second chance at life, right?
Right.
Okay, so how did you find out all this was going down in the hospital with your husband?
I got a call from Joseph, and our middle son, Jacob, he's 26. He got a call at the same time from someone else. I don't remember who called him. So we were both getting the phone calls at the same time, and they just said, "We're not sure what's wrong yet. He did pass out. We're getting him over to cath lab to try to figure out what's going on."
Mhm.
And I'm friends with all of these guys, much more friends now, family now
Oh, I
with all of
bet.
these guys. But his friend Val, I'm very good friends with, and so I was like, okay, I'm on my way up to the hospital.
How far are you from there? Your
It was
office?
in the middle of the day, so 20 minutes.
Okay.
Not bad. Um, and Val called a couple of times in that 20 minutes. So how's the drive? How close are you?
Oh,
And I was like,
goodness.
I know what those questions mean. I'm 5 minutes out. And Jacob
Yeah.
and I got there at the same time. And Val came out of the ER, walked us back in real quick, and they were literally taking him to cath lab. So we got to see
They
him.
wanted you to see
Yeah.
him.
So we got to see him before he went in there.
Because it was very grim. Well, I talked to his doctors, and they didn't know at that point if he was going
They
to
didn't, and they
survive.
told me that. They came in. We were both of my sons were in the waiting room, and Hetz and Pickett both came in and said, "We don't know how this is going to go.
Mhm.
We honestly don't. This is a very bad situation. We're going to do our very best." And it was shocking. I think we're all just in a state of shock. This was happening so quickly.
Yeah, this was a guy your honey you were supposed to just enjoy a day with. That was
Right.
the thought, right?
Right.
But it
Right.
didn't happen.
And I remember sitting there after they left to go into surgery. A chaplain walked in, and my 26-year-old got very, very
Oh,
upset.
I bet.
He's like, "We don't need to talk to you right now. I appreciate you, but can you please leave?" Like, it really hit home with him. He was like, "We don't want to. We
Like
don't want
you're
to talk
saying,
about
we don't
this.
want last rites.
We don't want this.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about this right now." So hours later, when the surgery was done, Grey's Anatomy is one of my favorite shows. People laugh at me all the time, but it was a scene from Grey's Anatomy to me. Dr. Hetz, Dr. Pickett walk out back into the waiting room. It's almost in slow motion with the biggest smiles on their faces. And they were just like, "We did it. Like, we don't know how, but we did it. We saved him." It was one of the craziest days of all of our lives.
They told me they felt like it was a miracle
It was.
because they feel like, and it's so incredible. I'm going to cry. When you hear a doctor who is, again, one of the highest skilled doctors in
Mhm.
Houston, and you know what a big deal that is. But when they say, I didn't have the skills myself, there's no medicine strong enough to do this. It had to be a higher power. It
Mhm.
is so unbelievable to hear those words.
It's very unbelievable. So we're very, very grateful to them.
Unbelievable.
It was like the day of the interview at the hospital with you. The interventional radiologist walked by the room where we were at, and he saw me, and he was like, "Hey, you don't know me." And I went, "I really don't." I said, "I'm sorry. I don't know who you are." He says, "I'm the interventional radiologist." I said, "Okay, you're an interventional radiologist." And he goes, I called your kidney. He says, I stopped the bleeding. And I went, you did? And he says, yeah. He says, I told him you weren't going to make it, that it was futile, that it was, that this was going to be next to impossible to get it to stop. And he said, I don't know how it happened. He says, but Dr. Pickett had already had me cathed. And he said that he went in and went in his guide wire. And he says, he don't know what. He said, but it slipped right in. He said, the bleeding stopped immediately. He said, it was amazing. He said, he'd never seen anything like it. He goes, huh, I did
A little guided help, perhaps from up above, because you walked out of the waiting room and you
Yeah.
decided not to go in that door.
it.
How amazing does it feel to be able to know that he got that second chance and he's alive here with you and
I
your
mean,
family
to
today?
me, it's almost like a second and third and fourth chance because there were so many things that went wrong after that
Mhm.
in the hospital. That it was amazing after several days of just watching how every time something happened, just the next chest piece fell exactly where it was supposed to. I mean, he had surgery and made it through that and went into ICU, and then we had the derecho, and that's when they literally were walking in the room to extubate him, and the derecho hits. They're like, we have to wait. We can't do it now. Gets into a regular room, then he codes again, and they almost lost him there. So this was several days of, is he going to be okay? Is he not? The night of the code was the worst night for all of us, though, because he was through the woods. We thought everything was great. And we were in a regular room, and all of a sudden, just blood everywhere. He was walking around the room, and he said needed help. And it was a terrible scene, like from just a nightmare. And I ran out to get the nurses, and the ER ran upstairs. Like all of his friends heard the code. They ran upstairs. The whole floor ran in there, and almost didn't save him that time either. So that was
And
the
what
second
happened with
time.
that one? What was going on?
The kidney started bleeding again, and so he lost a
You have
lot.
a stubborn kidney,
Yes,
Yeah.
he lost a lot of blood very, very quickly. Took him back to ICU. This time he was intubated for 5 days, which was very scary.
buddy.
Once you hit that fifth day and beyond, you're not really sure what's going to happen. So, and then he made it out of that. And so it was just one miracle after another. 17 days in the hospital.
My goodness.
Yeah.
What do you do with that? With this third and fourth chance at life?
Mm-hmm.
It's surreal. I mean, the whole thing is so surreal. I don't know.
But you
know. I
enjoy
mean-
life. Do you enjoy life a little bit more now that you say, okay, I want to go back to you saying,
There's no stress today.
right. Yeah. You don't sweat the small stuff, I'm sure. More,
No.
right. Now, when you say you had to seek therapy for it, was it because it was hard to find the peace that you had in those moments here in this crazy busy earth, or was it trying to figure out your why? What was going on with you?
I think I had a lot of things playing in this. I had lost 45 pounds from being in the hospital. Couldn't walk around hardly at all.
So while you survived, there was a lot of recovery to be done. It
And
was
I didn't
hard.
want to be a burden. And that was the biggest thing, is that I felt like that I was being a burden on my family.
Mhm. I'm sure you're just thrilled
He's bad about
alive.
that. Yeah.
I feel like we all sort of have that in
We
us,
do.
right? We
We
just
do.
want to take care of our families. We don't want that to happen.
Yeah. I think it was just a really tough recovery. And I think going to see her really helped. And then having him focus on different parts of the Bible, she would assign him to read, and he would write every morning. And I think it just really helped him get through that really tough time. So it was a long recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey,
Mm-hmm.
and the journey continues.
It's almost been a year now. You're
Mhm.
back at work.
Yeah,
Things
And-
are pretty much back to normal.
yeah.
Mhm.
Even so much that next month, April 18th, I'm going to. I became an ordained minister to marry my son.
Nice. How special is that?
Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
He
that'll
asked
be
him to marry them. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
Wow. You're going to be here to do that. See, you were supposed to say no in that waiting room. You have some
Yeah.
work to do.
That's the thing, is that, I mean, now I'm finding out the why today. Today, it's more about finding out the why, the purpose. And I mean, He's talking to me every day. I mean, we have discussions throughout the day. I pray more today than I ever have. Read the Bible every day. I listen to the Bible on the way to work now. when I used to not listen to anything, or I used to listen to the radio stations and stuff, and waste my time. Now my time is important to me, and everything that I'm doing. And at work, I don't stress out anymore.
Well, you have such a big job there of saving lives. Who knows how many more lives you'll save by being alive? I mean, that's a big job in this massive city in the emergency room. What you see and what you do is unfathomable.
And I get reminded and grounded from time to time with different patients that come in. I had a patient that he went through some of the similar things I went through, but in the process of that, he had a stroke and he was in a wheelchair, and he was my age. And we got to talking, and we shared stories, and he says, you were blessed. He says I can only wish to have 10% more of what you have. He says, you were blessed. He says, you got to think about that. And I went, yeah. And his wife comes over and gives me a hug. I mean, that's the stuff I get today.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Well, we're also, he's marrying his son April 18th, but we're also having our first grandbaby this year in July.
Yeah.
So he's here for a lot to look forward to, yes.
Yeah, and just the new life. How fun is that to be full circle with your family, and it's growing. So much to live for.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, everything is. It's funny how you sit there and you plan 2 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Today, I have a today plan.
Yeah.
Today, I'm going to do the best I can do.
I feel like we can all learn from that. How has it changed our life?
So much. Before we're done, I also just wanted to say such a big thank you to his family at Memorial City. That is just the best group of people that he's worked with for a very long time. And
25 years.
25 years.
That's just like family.
And I think I'm as close to them, if not closer to some of them now than he is. We got to be very close during this time. They were also helpful to me during the time that he was in the hospital and not able to communicate. But it has changed the same for me, just taking things a day at a time and not trying to worry about a year from now, because it showed us really quickly that you don't know what's going to be happening.
You never know what tomorrow holds, do you? Just to see how far you've come, it's incredible.
Minute to minute, yeah.
Well, it was an honor to be in your space at the hospital and to meet those powerhouse of doctors. I know when you saw the picture of us all, tell me about the moment you saw that when I was interviewing them.
That picture was the best. I just had the most grateful feeling seeing Dr. Katz and Dr. Pickett. The last time I had seen them together in the same room was when they were telling me they didn't know if they were going to be able to save his life. So seeing him in a picture with them almost a year later smiling was amazing.
Yeah, that's
it doesn't
pivotal.
get better than that.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Dr. Pickett, he's such a prankster, a character. And every day in the hospital, he'd walk into the room and go, hey, you look pretty good for a dead guy.
Oh, no.
He did that every day.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's great.
But, I mean, he's all grins, and him, and I run into Dr. Hetz all the time in the hospital, and everybody's just like, hey.
And I know now but I think you told me right at first when you first started working, and everyone's looking at you, watching, making sure you're okay, a little nervous.
They still do.
Right. They still do
They
today.
still babysit me. They come and check on me around, my bosses come around 3:34 before they're leaving to go home, and they go, how you doing? You sick? Tired?
Right.
You want to go home? No, I'm good. Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
Nice to be loved, and that's all that shows, right?
Yeah.
That you are very loved, and they've got your back. How incredible.
It's really nice.
I feel like as we wrap up today, it's always important for your take-home message. What do you want everyone to take home from this conversation?
Cherish what you have. Love your loved ones. There's no problem out there bigger than what it can be. Live today. Live every moment, and cherish the relationships you have, because you never know when they're going to be taken from you. And always hug and kiss your wife, hello, goodbye, before bed, after you get up. I mean, always just live today the best you can.
Beautifully stated. Jerry and Holly, thank you for being here. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing your testimony, your beautiful story, and for giving us that little glimpse of heaven. It was lovely.
Thank you.
So happy
Thank
you're
you.
okay.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for being here with us on Lunch for the Soul. I hope this has touched your heart like it has mine. We'll see you back here, same time, same place next week.